THT Podcast, the hot tag, has had the Dirty Daddy for 37 minutes and 25 seconds, and now I'm giving you a little bit more. But it ain't over when I'm gone, because they're going to have more and more and more and more. So you got to tune in and you got to listen. It's because I'm going to be honest with you. This was one of the most professional interviews I have done. And if you know a little thing about me, I've been doing nothing but interviews since dumping some little squat on her head 2 weeks ago. So make sure you're tuning in to the Hot Tag Podcast. Wow.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, it is Tuesday, 8:05 p.m. Eastern. It is the Hot Tag Podcast, thtpodcast.com. Finally, we got the man on the show. I know it's been a couple weeks, but finally, we got Dirty Daddy. I kind of feel uncomfortable saying that, but we got Chris Dickinson on the show. How's it going, buddy?
It's going pretty good. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing wonderful, man.
Thanks for asking.
There you go. Man, where do I start with you, man? You've been everywhere, man. You've literally probably done every indie in the Northeast, from CZW to, actually, you did a show with Ring of Honor earlier this year, right?
Yeah, I did Ring of Honor actually a couple weeks ago, the night before the Super Bowl, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah, with Michael Elgin, right?
Yeah, right, from Michael Elgin.
Nice. Any future shows that you might possibly collaborate on with Ring of Honor?
Honestly, right now I have nothing scheduled with them, and I really would like to have things scheduled with them. They were really happy with the match, and the crowd was awesome. It was actually a really good show. It was a really great match for me personally. I really enjoyed it, and we'll see what happens. But I'm so busy right now that I really can't. I can't worry about it. I mean, I try to talk to them regularly, but like I said, I got so much going on right now that I'm super tied up.
Yeah, man, you're a busy man right now. You're busy. You're all over. You got on World Star Hip Hop, so I think you're pretty much the first wrestler.
That's an accident. That was an accident. Let's be realistic about that. That was a total accident.
Yeah, got to put that on your Wikipedia page now.
Yeah.
It's like a title, you know. But another person that you actually worked with that is one of my favorites is AR Fox. It was last year, I believe, but I thought that was a great match. It was at CZW with Black G's. It was actually a four-way with Drake Younger as well, right?
Yeah, that was Drake Younger, Black G's, and AR Fox. Yep, I've worked with Fox several times, and he is honestly one of my favorite opponents, hands down, I've ever had. He's just an unbelievable athlete. I mean, I can't say enough good things about him. I mean, as a person, he's a great guy. I love him to death. He's a really, really nice guy, and I, appreciate his friendship. And if you can't appreciate his athleticism and what he does in the ring as a wrestler, I mean, I think he's in a totally different league all to himself. That's the type of person he is. I think one day people will remember AR Fox, and they'll be like, he'll be like a legend of sorts. You know what I mean? He's that unbelievable, and I've seen him do it in person so many times. All the things he does, and it's so amazing to watch. And to be able to work with him, it's a whole other level.
Yeah, most definitely. I can't disagree. You also got a chance to work with Davey Richards in his first ever CZW and last ever CZW match. How was it working with him? And how was it an honor to get one of his last matches on the Indies?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love Davey Richards. I was always a big fan, and he came and he delivered, and he really is just a superb athlete. That guy is a machine, an absolute machine, and he just loves what he does. He takes it so seriously, and you can't ask for more. He's a true professional, and he's the type of guy where every day he trains hard. He brings 100% to every workout. He's never dragging ass, and he also works a full-time job. I mean, how could you not respect that? Yeah. And working with him is the best, because he's such a good worker. You're going to learn a lot when you wrestle with a guy like Davey Richards, because he's so well seasoned, well traveled, and that's somebody who legitimately cares about their performance and how they're perceived by people. So they're not there to give anything else but 100%.
Nice. Now, also, you're one of the main guys for Beyond Wrestling. Now, Beyond Wrestling is hands down one of my favorites on the indies right now, and I think it kind of reminds me. I don't like comparing it to ECW because it's nothing like ECW, but it almost creates that atmosphere with the location that they have. Everything. It's a different product, and the presentation is different. So for the people that are not familiar with Beyond Wrestling, just give a little quick description of what the promotion is, a couple guys that are up there, any upcoming events that you guys might have, just so people can get an idea. Maybe even the website, if you know the website.
It's funny because a couple of members of the roster were actually having a group conversation recently where we were talking about how Beyond Wrestling has organically evolved. It's just taken its natural course and become something, almost by accident. There's a lot of people who still remember the old Beyond Wrestling where the wrestlers were around the ring. We did the closed tapings, the smaller venues. We were more interactive with the fans and so. And, Beyond Wrestling is something that just grows organically. I think in the last year especially, it's just turned into something completely different. And it's just all about being new, being different, being inventive, trying new things and just pushing the envelope sometimes because nobody else really is. We the wrestlers at Beyond Wrestling do have a certain amount of freedom to be able to do what we want because the whole concept of Beyond Wrestling was always wrestlers wrestling for the wrestlers. But, now we do have a pretty strong and loyal fan base that's still growing, and we're constantly, just trying to give them something a little bit different. And, it seems to be working, and we may get, some bad press for, going against the grain or doing things a little bit differently, or people still hold on to the old stuff from about 5 years ago where they say, these guys are just like a backyard set, wrestling in front of other wrestlers, this and that. But, come on, we're like the fourth or fifth most watched wrestling company in the world by YouTube standards. We're so well followed and so well received on the internet, and that's all in, that all goes back to Drew Cordero, the owner of the company. He's found ways to, to promote via social media and to release footage through YouTube that, wrestling companies they're still catching on to. They don't they can't even grasp the concept of how it's done. So, with the savvy kind of promotional aspect of the company, we've been able to infiltrate different markets and, to reach different fans that normally probably they wouldn't even watch, independent wrestling to begin with. So Beyond Wrestling is something completely unique. If you haven't checked it out, I really suggest you do. And now there's such a vast library of content on the internet that you could check out, and you could watch stuff from all the way back from 2009 till now 2015, and we're constantly releasing DVDs, constantly releasing clips online, footage. There's always stuff going on. So Beyond Wrestling is like a monster. It just keeps on growing and growing and growing and growing and growing.
Yeah, definitely. And by the way, folks, if you want to check out some of the DVDs, you can purchase them off of Smart Mark Video.
Yeah, Smart Mark handles all the DVDs and the production.
Yeah, definitely check it out. The venue is awesome, and I'm telling you that the wrestling is different. These guys work their ass off, and so I salute you guys, man. I've actually been a fan for over probably around a year as far as Beyond Wrestling, and I haven't seen a bad show yet, so I'm not complaining. Boxman, you got a question?
Hey, I read that you had a Taekwondo and MMA background. Is that true?
Yeah, it's true, absolutely.
All right. Do you have any MMA, like UFC aspirations, like going down the old Punk road or Lesnar road?
I did when I was younger. I started, to just kind of like give it all in a nutshell. I started doing martial arts when I was 6 years old. Mm-hmm. I was fortunate enough to be enrolled in a dojo that was pretty serious in terms of it was ran by like a Korean family who had a sanction from the World Taekwondo Federation. And I grew up in that dojo, and I got to third-degree black belt by the time I was about like maybe 15 years old.
Wow. And
I competed in the Junior Olympics with them. I was on a demonstration team with this dojo, and we did like performances for like big stadiums. I got to meet like the president, things like that. Like we were like a national Taekwondo type of a team deal. And then when I was 15, I started training with this guy named John Capitella, who had a dojo on the island. It was called American Vada Kempo. That's just what it was called. But he was actually a fighter who had done some of the early UFC stuff, like the UFC 1 through 10 or 10 to 15. I mean, he lost, I think, but still the guy was an unbelievable fighter, and he was actually a trainer for the Russian Olympic wrestling team. So I started kind of getting into the MMA when I was like 15, but at the same time I was also training to be a pro wrestler, and I wanted to be a pro wrestler. I never had any qualms about it. I honestly never really wanted to be a fighter. I started training again for like MMA when I was like maybe 18, 19 for about 2 years, and it's just a totally different animal. I wanted to get big. I wanted to gain weight. I wanted to be, beefed up for wrestling. And, MMA is just different. It's a different style of training. It's a whole different philosophy. And I kind of just fell out of enjoying it as a fan as well. I stopped watching it. I stopped following it. I mean, my fandom for MMA is more rooted in the 90s and the early 2000s. Whereas, nowadays, I'm really not that interested in it. I kind of feel like the popularity, it becoming as popular as it did was almost kind of like a turnoff to me. You know what I mean? So I kind of just, I'm not saying like I would never do it or I'd never compete again in some sort of martial arts, way, but I have like no aspirations of being an MMA fighter right now.
Okay.
Very nice.
Cool.
Now, at last year's Jersey J Cup, you faced guys like Sabu. He's probably one of my favorites. Any thoughts on working with Sabu?
Yeah, that was an unbelievable experience because Sabu was one of the main reasons I wanted to become a wrestler. I mean, Rob Van Dam and Sabu were my two biggest influences in like junior high school. That was like such a big deal to me. It was RVD and Sabu and ECW, and they were like the main reason. So getting to see I wrestled Sabu is like a really huge deal. Sabu is absolutely crazy. I mean, in real life, he's completely nuts. So what you see and what you get, sometimes it can be. You don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. So he was just he was definitely being a little crazy, and but I wouldn't take back anything. I mean, there's people that say, blah blah blah, whatever. It doesn't make a difference to me. He's Sabu. He could do whatever he wants. It was an awesome show. I loved working with him, and he was the best, man. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy being able to share the ring with like somebody that really made you want to be a wrestler. So I loved every minute of it.
Yeah, it must have been an awesome experience. Boxman,
I
got
gave him
another
a
question?
Van Daminator. I gave him a Van Daminator.
There you go, man. That's even cooler, man.
Yep.
That's actually a really good show. You faced with you faced Joey Janela in the finals, and we're actually going to have Joey Janela in a couple weeks. So that was actually a really good match.
Yeah.
Boxman, you got a question?
Yeah. How was it working with Tatanka and JCW?
Tatanka, I mean, is absolutely one of the best wrestlers I've ever stepped in the ring with. I've learned so much from working with that guy, and he is, without a doubt, I mean, one of the nicest gentlemen, real, like, just well put together, solid dudes you will ever meet in wrestling. Is you come across so many guys in wrestling from that time period who are broken, who got a bad history, who have been through a lot of crap or into drugs and this and that and blah blah blah. And this guy, he just comes off like he's like dad. You know what I mean? He's just such a good guy, and he's such a good wrestler and so smart. It's almost unbelievable that he doesn't get as much credit as he probably should. He's just so morbidly underrated, and even I underrated him. I didn't really know what to expect going into the first match I had with him, and everybody was telling me, Tatanka's really good, Tatanka's going to bring it, Tatanka's really good. I was like, all right, cool. And then I worked him, and I was like, oh my God. We went for like 35 minutes, and the guy is 53 years old, and he's got more gas in his tank than 95% of the people I wrestle on a weekly basis.
Wow.
And he just feels he's so into it, and he's so like real and so just like spiritual about it. He's a legitimate Native American. He's got that whole vibe going on about him, and he's just such a cool guy. I mean, my experiences working with him are like, I will rank them up as like some of the best experiences I've ever had in wrestling. And that's 100% truth. That's not like I'm just trying to make it sound nice, or I'm trying to just put the guy over. Like, he is one of the coolest guys I've ever met in my life. And I love the guy, honestly. I think he's great.
Right.
Definitely. He definitely deserves a spot in the Hall of Fame. I hope they make that happen sometime sooner than later.
He's a beast, dude. Like,
yeah,
I mean, I don't like to give away all the secrets, but like, working with him in the ring and just listening to the crowd, him telling you, listen to this, listen to that, don't do this yet, do that. Like, the guy is just like, you could just tell when you're working with somebody so seasoned, who's from that era. You know, if you were a guy on Vince McMahon's roster who was supposed to be undefeated, you know, you were basically getting groomed to be the best. Like, you had everybody working with you, pushing you, telling you what to do, molding you into being like this awesome mega star wrestler. Like, we cut promos in the back after the first match, and like his promo, it was like unbelievable. It was like, damn, okay, I could just see the SummerSlam backdrop behind him and Mean Gene Okerlund standing next to him because it was just so good. And then I'm like, oh, I gotta cut my promo now. And like, oh god, he's gonna stay in the room and watch. And I'm like, oh man, I'm so nervous. And then I cut this promo, and it was one of the best promos I ever cut in my life. And he put it over so hard. He was so happy about it. It's like, it was honestly, like, working with Tatanka is pretty much, I wish I could wrestle Tatanka every time I wrestle. Every time.
No, honestly, speaking of promos, man, not just saying this because you're on the show, but I think you're one of the underrated guys when it comes to promos on the indies. You can hear the passion in your voice, and it's good stuff, man. I mean, Boxman, I know you got a question about this. You want to ask that?
I was wondering if you've had any backlash from the promo you cut on Kimber Lee a few days ago.
I mean, like, backlash in what sense? Like, people didn't like the way it sounded, or it wasn't enough of a shoot for them, or we didn't give enough of realism way, or I didn't come out and apologize? Like, what do you mean?
Probably that they didn't like what you were saying. I would go with that one.
Well, look, put it this way. In this story, let's just put it in context of professional wrestling.
Okay.
Let's forget that it's just a 50-second video of me smashing a girl over the head with a chair and giving her a Pazuzu bomb. And let's think about it in professional wrestling. It's because obviously there's a million people out there who thought it was real, but they got worked. So you put it back into context, and then you see, wow, they actually had a wrestling match. So what are we going to do here? Are we going to just come out and say, listen, everybody, I'm sorry. I know it was a little extreme. Guy-on-girl violence is totally wrong. And women, they shouldn't take chair shots and they shouldn't take bumps. It's completely unacceptable in professional wrestling. And you know what? Because the WWE doesn't do it, we're never going to do this ever again. It's because I just want to be like everybody else. Am I going to say that? Is that what I should say?
No, and I'm glad you mentioned WWE, because if you were in WWE, they would make you apologize for weeks and weeks and probably fire you afterwards.
And that's fine, and that you know, it is what it is. I want you to go back and watch that. You know, the chair shot was completely protected. The bump was actually completely safe. Her head did not come nowhere from hitting the turnbuckle. It was just the angles of the cameras, man. This is show business. And then there's not one. This is what really boggles my mind about how people thought this was so severe. There is not one drop of blood that was needed to make people believe that it was real. So you're going to tell me that I didn't do my job as a heel and as a performer of protecting the girl, of making it look realistic, and getting out of it without a scratch, not one drop of blood, and I was able to trick the entire world, people that didn't even watch wrestling and just watched it just because, into believing that I was abusing this 120-pound girl. I'm sorry, but I did my job. And if anybody from WWE or anywhere or anything has a problem with what went down, well, I mean, come on, it's just professional wrestling. This is what professional wrestling always was supposed to be. We're supposed to make people believe something is real that actually isn't real, you know? Right. And I don't care if people had a problem with my promo. It's because they're supposed to have a problem with my promo. I'm a bad guy. She's a good guy. We're obviously going to have to find a way to finish this, not for the million people who just saw it casually, but for our fan base who buy tickets to all of our shows, who buy our DVDs. They've been giving something. Now all of this happened as a complete surprise, but now we have to give them, you know, a story. And that's what professional wrestling is all about. That's what I love to do. I love to tell stories. You know, going back to Tatanka, that's exactly something we were having conversations about. You know, when we were hanging out after our matches and we were talking about what we were going to do, it's just telling stories.
Yeah. Right. And, you know, honestly, I think that's one thing professional wrestling is missing right now is that edge. And I think things like this really just capture that, you know. And that's what wrestling is missing right now. And you know, Beyond Wrestling has that platform to do things like this. So I have absolutely no problem with this. And you know, the fact that it's kind of ironic because people forget that Mae Young got put through a table and she was what, 76. So people weren't complaining about that.
Maybe.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, everybody brings up the Mae Young thing, but we could go on a laundry list of incidents over the years, be it WWE, ECW, WCW, anything, you know, all indie wrestling. I remember watching Valentina take a cop killer on a Jersey All Pro show. A cop killer. You know what I mean? I mean, come on. I remember Chyna getting wailed with a chair from Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho smashing her hand with a hammer. How many times did Triple H give a girl a pedigree? I mean, come on. Girls have been taking bumps forever. The Dudley Boys laid out the entire Divas roster. You know, it's just unbelievable. But I'm sorry, if everybody's going to go and take a look at my little video taking place at some small indie show in Rhode Island and think, damn, well, forget all that stuff. That guy's the most evil man on the face of the earth. And I'm sorry. When I got paid to do that night, I did it well. And if you have a problem with that, well, that's too bad for you. You probably really don't like professional wrestling.
Yeah, good point. Now, you briefly mentioned Jersey All Pro Wrestling. And actually, March 21st, you're going to be facing Low Key at Jersey All Pro. So have you ever actually worked with him before? And I know this is going to be a stiff match. So I'm looking forward to this. I just want to get your thoughts on it.
I've never worked with Key in a singles match. We just had some kind of little schmozzes and angles and things when I was with Ambrose and Callahan in the Death Machine angle and little things like that over the years, Jersey All Pro Wrestling. But this is actually our first singles encounter, and yeah, it's probably going to be a little snug, a little hard hitting, but that's exactly what it needs to be. You know, it's, you know, Loki's got a reputation for being a bully, but he ain't a bigger bully than me, and he ain't gonna bully me around. You know, I don't give a damn what anybody says. He's a tough guy, but he's still 160 pounds at the end of the day, and he could try to do anything he wants to me, but please, you know, it's not going to go that far in my world. You know, unfortunately, maybe for him, he believes that he could do whatever he wants, but it just doesn't work like that in 2015. When you're wrestling somebody like me, I don't let people take advantage of me like that. And I think that's a problem that a lot of people have with me in the business, is the fact that they know they can't take advantage of me. So it just flushes them, and usually they don't want to work with me. It's because they feel like, you know, how am I ever going to look as good as this guy if he could just legitimately kick my ass? But, you know, everybody's got some sort of an issue with that. They get caught up in believing that it's real. They seem to forget that I'm still working. You know, right. Yeah, and this goes back to Kimber Lee. This goes back to the entire incident, and you know, it's almost like crazy because over the years I've gotten such a bad reputation of being a guy who takes advantage of people and hurts people. I've never heard anybody swear on my grandfather's grave. I mean, we get a little banged up out there. We get a little loopy. I've never injured anyone. Nobody's ever come out of my match with a broken bone, with a pulled muscle, with a blown-out tendon, with a knocked-out tooth, with a severe concussion, with a gaping wound. I mean, you know how many times I've been concussed because of people's stupid crap, a sloppy forearm in my temple, somebody will crack my tooth with a horrible punch that doesn't even look good. I've never hurt anybody, but yet everybody believes that I'm reckless and I'm dangerous. Why? Well, I'm sorry that I listened to Ricky the Dragon Steamboat when I trained with him, and he told me that everything you do in the ring has to do with body language. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You know, I'm sorry that I listened to all the guys that trained me that told me it's not about the moves that you do, it's about how you look doing them. You know, and if I could look scary and intimidating like I'm going to take your head off, well, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make it look like I'm going to shake your hand every 5 minutes like every other wrestler's doing. I want to look like I want to hurt you.
Right.
So, you know, I'm sure me and Loki will probably kick each other's asses and it'll be real good. So, if you're in the area, NYC area, northern New Jersey, in southern Jersey, anywhere, I mean, this is a match that definitely you want to see. I mean, for me, Loki's one of the guys who influenced me heavily coming into wrestling when I was first going to wrestling school, I loved Low-Ki. Everybody knows it. I've been compared to him for years, and I'm finally looking forward to walking out of the shadows. So it definitely will be an interesting match, and the whole card is pretty stacked, and Jersey All Pro Wrestling is pretty much back with a vengeance. So March 21st, Rahway, New Jersey. I mean, Jersey All Pro is pretty much the only show in town. When Jersey All Pro is on, they're still on. So I would hope that you would get there.
Yeah, they definitely have a good reputation, been around forever. And if you want more information, you can follow them on Twitter at JAPW1997. That just shows you 1997. They've been around for almost 20 years. So.
I mean, Jersey All Pro Wrestling was Ring of Honor before there was a Ring of Honor. Jersey All Pro Wrestling was pretty much shaping everything that independent wrestling was going to become in the late 90s and early 2000s. I mean, when I got into Jersey All Pro Wrestling, there was no Ring of Honor. I mean, there was ECWA, there was, little things, promotions popped up all over the place that had good workers, and it was starting to bud. But Jersey All Pro Wrestling was the type of place where it harnessed everything. It created, momentum, and then you had the Ring of Honors come along that kind of just took that and ran with it. But Jersey All Pro Wrestling, you cannot discredit all the good that they've actually done for independent wrestling, professional wrestling in general.
Yeah, definitely, man. Before we let you go, man, I briefly want to talk about CZW 16. You faced Black G's for the CZW heavyweight title. Now, you were in my city, Philadelphia, and I'm gonna go ahead and say, man, this match was a very, very good match. Stiff match, very entertaining. It's probably the best match of the night. Actually, definitely the best match of the night. But the crowd was not into this match for some reason. For some reason, you were the heat magnet of the night, and I don't think it was the whole crowd. I was actually sitting next to your parents, and it was a couple guys to the right of us. They basically started it, and it was somewhat of a chain reaction, and a couple guys started dick eating, and they started doing it. It wasn't the whole crowd, but I really enjoyed how you took that and you worked it, and you really pissed the crowd off. And do you want
the real story? I mean, I'll give you a blow by blow. I do not care about telling you anything.
Yeah.
Of course.
All right. Well, I'm a babyface generally in CZW. I'm generally usually the most over babyface in the company, and we're talking about the Voorhees shows at this point. And you're right. Not everybody in the crowd was giving me the cheap heat and hating on me. It's because there was a lot of those people there that, are the regular buy-in ticket every month and go to every show CCW fans that are all into the Dirty Daddy, and they love everything I do. And I love those people. I love that crowd. That's the reason why I went back to CCW after I left the first time. It's because of the fans. But then you had the Philadelphia hecklers. Now, me and G's, we called the match with me as the good guy and him as the bad guy. Okay? Now, we went out there, and obviously, as soon as they said that I was from Staten Island, New York, Larry announces I'm from Staten Island, New York, just the way he said it got so much heat, and automatically people were just like, okay, I don't know. And I came out to the Rocky song. I think that started to ruffle people's feathers, too. And I had Larry tell the crowd that I was the son of Philadelphia's favorite son.
Right.
Listen, I knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
So then we start working, and the crowds obviously they're starting to get a little raucous. So if you follow my, I don't care, man. I'm not trying to make people like me. I want people to hate me. So I was just feeding off of it, and loving it. So obviously, match calls, we got things, we call matches in wrestling. That's how it works sometimes. Not everybody just goes out there and does it all on the fly. There are some people that can do it, and they do it well, and I love working with them. There's some people that just can't. So we had our idea. We went out there, and obviously, we needed to change some things around. As I like to say, we had to call an audible. Well, let's just say the audible was not really being received. Okay?
Right.
He did not want to really deviate from the game plan. And we were communicating. We're communicating, and eventually the communication just broke down. I mean, is this crowd going to go wild when I make my big comeback? I'm the bad guy. Nobody wants to see me walk out of this place alive. You know, you got to be able to shift gears and change things on the fly. And it just didn't work out that way. And I'm going to be honest with you. I hold myself to an extremely high standard, okay? I hold myself to a very, 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 very high standard. When I came back to wrestling 2 years ago, I swore to myself I will try my best to wrestle every match as if it was my last. I will give it 100% no matter what. It's because I've been in a situation where it can be your last match. I blew out my knee, and I was out for a year and a half, okay? At any moment, you could get hurt, and it's over. So I try my best to give 100%. And the crowd was not interested. They were interested in a different dynamic. And he did not want to work with me to produce that dynamic. So when we got to the finish, I just kind of lost my mind. And I just went off. And, you know, all the things I said about him, there's semi-truth to everything I said in that promo, okay?
Yeah.
Do I like Mel Black Cheese? Yeah, I do. I like him, and I respect him. He's a nice guy. He's a cool guy. You know? If you want the truth, I was supposed to win the CZW title at Cage of Death. But I got politicked out of the company by Masada. It's because of, you know, whatever reasons. I don't even want to really get that into it. But I took a break for a few months, and then he quit. I came back. It's because DJ didn't care anymore. And then, you know, we had to change the plan. So we went into with me and DJ at Cage instead of me in the cage. It was supposed to be me, Jeff, me, Sozio, Gulak, and Biff Busick. Me up in the cage at the end, big babyface champion. There you go. Mel did his thing, got involved, got to the title, whatever. That's cool. I don't care about belts, man. I didn't need a title at CZW to get myself over. You know, titles are supposed to enhance people. They're not supposed to make, you know, be the cherry on top. They're supposed to make people. You know, I thought Sozio winning the belt was a good thing. Yeah. You know, I didn't care. But at the end of the day, it's like, you know, the company is so screwed. There's so many cooks in the kitchen at CZW. And I'm not going to, like, sit here and bury DJ. It's because he's not this, like, horrible person that a lot of people would want to lead you to believe. He's actually a nice guy. He's just got, you know, social things going on. And he don't want no issues. I don't think he really cares if CZW is perceived by the smart marks to be good or not. I don't think he really cares if it's good or not, honestly, at all. I honestly think that he just, you know, is running it like a business so he could get by making X amount of dollars off of the company so he could just, you know, survive off of it as long as he can until he has to probably go back to getting a real job in the bank again, you know? And that's no knock on DJ. If you hear it, it's no knock on you, man. You know, you know, we're cool. And I just, like, cannot take all the people in the locker room at CZW. Everybody there is so fake. Everybody will shake your hand and they'll talk a bunch of crap about you behind your back. Stuff on Masada, cool with everything, man. Oh, we're all good. You know what was going on. Still, you know, then I'll go talk a bunch of crap about you behind your back. Politics. Everybody's got a problem with you, you know, there. If you're eating better than them. Nobody wanted Beyond Wrestling guys to go there and do what we did. You know, they saw us as like invaders. We're coming in and taking everything. No, we're coming in here and working harder than everybody else. You know, you guys like me and Busick. And it's, we're coming in here and we're enhancing everybody around us. We're bringing the level of competition up, which is going to create a better product. It's going to create better wrestling. And obviously there's been issues with several people, you know, all personal or professional, be it AR Fox, be it JT Dunn, be it, Biff Busick, be it me, that people just kind of just dropping off the roster at their own will. I mean, who doesn't want to work for a company like CZW that offers so much exposure? But that's just the type of place it is. Unfortunately, it's just so poorly run. There's no consistency to anything. You know, just nothing but false promises and just a lot of false hope. And you want it all to be real, and you want it all to work out because, you know, CZW, it's got something about it. You know, and there was times in the last 2 years when I was there, especially early on, dude, 85-90% of the roster didn't even want to be there. They were like miserable to be there, moping around, like, oh, and I'm there, fired up, ready to go out and destroy. And you wonder why I got so over? So you're gonna hate on me for that because I worked really hard for these guys to believe in me. It's not about the company. It's not about it's about the fans. It's about the people that pay the money to go every month. There's a core group. There's a core group of people there that pay money to go every month, and they believe in you. If you give them something to believe in, they will believe in you, and it's a special feeling. And unfortunately, the people who run the company, they're just not connected with what that really means. So, I want to seek out other opportunities. And I just told DJ, hey, because of course all the boys are going to be mad that I talked a bunch of crap in a work shoot promo, and everybody's panties are going to be all up in a bunch because I disrespected CZW. It's like, dude, give me a break. But get over it. I'm so sick of that crap. So I just told DJ, I quit, dude. It's cool. Maybe we'll work together in the future.
Yeah. You actually almost got me with the trash can you launched, man. I had to duck that.
Yeah, sorry about that. Didn't mean to.
That's all good, man. It's all good. But one more, Boxman, you actually got a question?
I was going to ask about speaking when we were talking about JAPW. I know you were tag champs there with Sami Callihan. Have you seen any of his stuff in NXT as Solomon Crow or not at all?
To be honest with you, I actually haven't. I don't. I mean, this is going to sound horrible. I guess there's so many people out there that are all just like, ready to sacrifice their souls and sell their families away to get a WWE contract. But I really do not watch the WWE at all. Okay. I don't follow it, and I don't really know anything that's going on. So, I can't really tell you, anything about it. I mean, if I did see something, I definitely would, probably stick around it and watch it and, check out, a Sami Callihan match or something. But unfortunately, I don't have time. I work a full-time job on top of professional wrestling almost every weekend.
Wow.
I'm so strapped. The only time I ever sit down and watch any sort of television, I'm watching, 30 for 30 documentaries. I'm watching sports documentaries. I'm watching, I'm watching stuff that don't have nothing to do with wrestling,
Right.
Right, makes sense.
Get your mind off it. I got you.
Basically.
Yeah. Definitely.
Well, hey, man, you can check him out March 21st, Rahway, New Jersey, Jersey All Pro. Check it out, man. It's going to be low-key against Chris Dickinson. This is definitely worth the admission ticket itself, just this match. I'm definitely going to be watching it. Hopefully I can make my way to New Jersey. But appreciate you coming on, man. Greatly appreciate this.
No, absolutely. This was a very, very, a very good interview. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you very much for having
definitely, man. Any other upcoming shows you got that you want to plug?
I kind of finally sold out, and I do the Twitter thing. Even though I don't follow anybody, I just post about random crap all day because I'm bored. At Dirty Dickinson, follow me on Twitter, add me on Facebook, and buy my T-shirts, buy my DVDs. T-Pazuzu's taking over the world. Tomorrow I'm going to be popping up at a show somewhere, and you don't know what it is, but I'm going to make some noise. And next weekend I am at Jersey All Pro Wrestling, where ICW is returning in Queens, New York, and I'm in a four-way dance with AR Fox, Azrael, and Jigsaw. Then I got Low-Key on the 21st, and then the 22nd I'm at XWA in Rhode Island. They haven't announced the match yet, but if you're in town for any of those shows, come and check them out. Come up to the merch table, come and BX with me. We'll talk a little Dennis Rodman. We'll talk a little wrestling. We'll talk a little 1980 U.S. hockey team. Don't really make a difference. We'll talk a little Golden Girls. It's perfectly fine.
Oh man. Yeah, actually, I didn't know about that four-way dance. That's a good one, man. That's
yeah, it's gonna be pretty dope. I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. Thank you so much, man.
Definitely appreciate it.
You're welcome, man. Have a good night.
Yeah, actually,
THT Podcast, the hot tag, has had the Dirty Daddy for 37 minutes and 25 seconds, and now I'm giving you a little bit more. But it ain't over when I'm gone, because they're going to have more and more and more and more. So you got to tune in and you got to listen. It's because I'm going to be honest with you. This was one of the most professional interviews I have done. And if you know a little thing about me, I've been doing nothing but interviews since dumping some little squat on her head 2 weeks ago. So make sure you're tuning in to the Hot Tag Podcast. Yow!